Hi you guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I was not planning on filming this video. I have so many other videos on my agenda. I actually keep a little notebook where I keep all of my video ideas, and I have so many ideas. And this was a video that number one was requested on my YouTube channel, but it was also something that I didn't think I would be filming right now, to be honest. And that is an eyebrow routine slash how I clean up my eyebrows. And the only reason I even decided to do this video now is because if you look at my eyebrows, they are a hot mess, and they need some love. I've not been home in so long, so my eyebrows are, I don't even know if you can tell because the camera is pretty far right, but I'll zoom you in. Okay, I turned up the brightness on my camera or on my ring light, and I hope you guys can see. Like, do you see how long they are already? So I'll be honest, I'm not home, and so I don't have everything with me right now, like all the tools that I would normally use to do my brows. So that is our first challenge. Normally I'll insert it right here. I use this little guy. I will link it down below on my like Amazon store or whatever. But it basically is a nose trimmer type thing, but it comes with this attachment for your brows, and that's why I bought it. So I use like the longest attachment, or maybe like the shortest one. I think I use the shortest one to do my brows, and basically I just run it over my brows and it trims them. However, I don't have that with me right now, which is kind of a bit of a pickle because it is so easy to do it that way, and I totally recommend this product because it is foolproof. Sometimes if I do my brows with scissors, because my brows get really long if I like don't cut them often, but yeah, if I don't have that, like, it's just a little bit harder and a little bit less foolproof. So as a beginner, as somebody who has even not a beginner and made mistakes on my own brows, I totally recommend buying this product. It is completely foolproof. Again, I'll link it down below. But we are going to do things a little bit old school today with just a few items. So the first thing you're going to need is a pair of scissors. These are the scissors that I keep in my like purse. I actually will link my like what's in my purse video down below. I keep these in a little pouch in my purse, and they are actually camping scissors, so they like collapse to this size. So yeah, I travel with these, and a small little pair of scissors like this is really all you need to be able to do your brows. A good pair of tweezers. Mine are from Revlon. I'm obsessed with these. Like, I literally don't use any other tweezers on my brows. I love, this one's super dirty because it was my makeup bag, but these little razors, this one is from the brand Flawless, and honestly, they sell these at Walmart, Target, Ross, TJ Maxx, like everywhere. Little razors like this are perfect for just cleaning up the edges. And last but not least, also from Flawless, is the Flawless face razor. I love to like kind of like trim up any little hair on my face with this, even though it is for like the entire face. They do have an eyebrow run. I don't have it, but yeah, this is great too. And these are all the products that I pretty much use. And then last but not least, a eyebrow brush with a spoolie. So this is the lineup. It is 4 things. Really, to do your brows, you only need these 4: a pair of scissors, tweezers, this, and my eyebrow brush. This is kind of a bonus. Okay, so you guys are nice and zoomed in, and you can really tell, like, I can get my brows to do that like super bushy brow thing. I can get that look so easily. I just choose not to do it. You see how long my brows get? Okay, so part of me thinks that like I could totally pull that look off, and maybe one day I will love to do it and try to do it, but it's just not me. But like, just here brushing up my brows, the first thing that I like to do is take my scissors and my little brow spoolie. Again, if you can have this with you, have a product like it, or if you want to purchase this one down below, I'll link it. I love it, and I think it's just so convenient. Makes this process, like this step of the process, foolproof. Basically, I brush up my brows and I trim them. Honestly, you can make mistakes. I've just kind of learned to almost perfect it, but at the same time, I've totally trimmed off some of my brows hairs that I wanted to keep, so it just kind of depends. But basically, I like to make sure that when I brush up my brows, there's not like hairs flying everywhere like there was a second ago. And then I'll brush them like the way that I would normally brush them to like have my brows done, and make sure that there's nothing that looks like it's flying away, and that's kind of when I know like I've cut enough. And then same thing over here. Also, if you're doing this process by yourself, and especially if you're doing it for the first time, cut less than more. Like, you can always cut more after, and you think you know, don't like the results, you can do more, but always start with less and go from there. So this is just how I do my brows. So that's like the first step for me. And then the next thing I'm gonna go and do is take my tweezers and pluck around any of this like eyebrow situation. If you are a beginner at this, or if you have less defined brows than I do, what you can do is take your eyebrow brush and product and fill out the like your dream brow, and then only pluck outside of that space. That's how I ended up getting the like brow shape that I have now. I did that years ago, and I don't think I've redone it since. But basically it's just a super easy, you know, take some brow powder, brow pomade, something, and just outline like your dream brow. And once that is done, take a wipe, clean it up, make sure it's like perfect, and then pluck everything outside of it. That is like my absolute best tip for beginners. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna bring my mirror a little closer, real close, so now it's in the frame, which is annoying, but there we go, that's perfect actually. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pluck everything around that perimeter that I've created. And sometimes this takes longer than others, and sometimes when I, especially like right now, I haven't edited in a long time, it tends to like hurt a little bit more or just be a little bit more bothersome. So just take your time, take it slow, and be patient with yourself. Sometimes I get like frustrated because it does begin to hurt after a while, but yes, I love to do it with like I like to do my brows with tweezers and just pluck them myself at home, because every time I've gotten my brows waxed, I get like these tiny little bumps all over my forehead, and I just break out into this like hive. My skin gets this awful reaction. And same with threading, like it just, my skin just breaks out, and I rather not break out. So I do this instead, and then I can just keep up with it myself. And honestly, it's free, so it's awesome, low maintenance. So I'm just gonna go ahead and speed this part up and show you guys just like how I do it. Okay, so right about now I'm at that point where I'm just getting desperate because one of my brows has way more hairs than the other. So I've done most of it, but then it just becomes like, oh my gosh, my skin is just so irritated and it just hurts at this point. So at this point I remind myself to be patient and just try to get through it. Also, I move on to another space. So right here I was starting to like feel a lot of irritation and just like pain really. So I'm kind of leaving this area alone for the meanwhile minute. I'm just gonna leave it alone for a minute, and I'm gonna do the top of my brow while that pain kind of subsides, and then I'll get back to it. Again, it's really important to have your mirror nice and close. So then last but not least, what I'm gonna do is take my little extremely dirty thing, which is super not hygienic. And basically all those little baby hairs around my brows I'm going to shave off, mostly because at this point my skin is tired. And you can even go underneath if you have hairs that you're missing there. I have normally very thick brow hairs, and so I really only do this with like the ones that are like super duper thin, like those like barely peach fuzz kind of hairs. You're gonna want to make sure when you do this to hold your skin like taut so that it's like not moving around anywhere, because you don't want to cut yourself or anything. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and jump into the brow situation. So I'm going to do this part of my foundation because I am going to do my makeup now. And I always like to have my foundation done before I do my brows. So I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I went ahead and did the base of my like foundation, bronzer, everything up here. And basically now is when I would do my brows. So obviously I'd have either like a full face of makeup done or something, but I personally feel like I always need to have like the top part of my brow done because I never clean that area up. And then if I go back in with foundation after having done my brows, I find that the beauty sponge isn't precise enough and I end up getting foundation in my brows, which just gets super annoying and I have to redo them, and then it's a whole thing. This is how I like to start my brows. I've also done soap brows and I really, really love that. But lately, I haven't been doing soap brows because I gave my brow powder to my mom and I was doing soap brows with brow powder. So I currently don't have a brow powder, but I've been using a pomade. Basically for me, I find that a pencil, a pomade, or a brow powder, all of them work great. My only tip is to use a very light hand when you're starting, especially if you're using a pomade. You don't want to have block brows. Also, I did manage to chop off the tail of this brow, so let's ignore that for this video. This is why I was saying at the beginning that it's super foolproof to use one of those like face razor thingies. Oh my gosh, gel just like popped out of this. Basically, I've also seen a lot of people use hair gel, and this is basically hair gel. This is the Style Wand. That's like the name of the brand. It is a stray hair tamer, so it's actually meant for your hair to like sleek down any edges, and I normally keep this in my purse. The company sent me 2 of them, but honestly this is so good to like make sure your brows are in place and sleek down however you want them, either before, during, after you go in with product. So right now I'm doing it before to just get off any like powder that I have on them and to make sure that I like the shape that they are like slicked down in. And then what I'm going to do is take a flat brush. So mine is actually an eyebrow brush like combo situation. So on one end it has a spoolie and on the other end it has one of these little angled brushes. So this one is from Morphe and Jeffree Star. However, the one that I really like is actually like one that's more affordable than this is actually from e.l.f. So honestly this one was pretty and it's pink and I really like it and everything, but the e.l.f. one works just as great. And if you're looking for something high-end, Anastasia also makes one, and I actually really like this because it's super, super skinny. So I'm gonna go with my brow pomade. This one is again from Anastasia, and I have the shade Soft Brown. So even though my hair is very dark, I really like to go in with something that isn't too dark for my brows. I think that a lighter brow actually looks better on me, so, and technically it's not even that light of a brow. But I always like to, whenever I dip my product in, I like to start with the most product on the outer tail of my brow, because I like the outer tail of my brow to be the darkest part of my brow. And I always start with the bottom part of my brow. And on this front part, I'm using a super, super light hand. And I kind of like go into the rest of my brow. I'll press a little harder because I haven't dipped my brush back into any excess product. And then whenever I do dip my brush back in, again, I'm not picking up much product at all. When I do though, I pick and put that product down on the outer tail of my brow. Number 1, because I have the most sparseness there, but also number 2, because that really is the area that I'm going to put the most of my product. And then everything else is really just creating a shape that you like. I like to use little small strokes, but also I know that a lot of people do smaller strokes to mimic brow hairs. I don't go with that technique. I kind of just fill in my brow, because I actually do have quite a bit of brow hair. So really all I need to do is fill it in enough to like coat my brow with color, you know? And then I just kind of fill in the tail of my brow and make sure that there's enough product there. I don't mimic any hair though. This is like the kind of brow I like, and then I just like to make sure that the front of my brow is super soft. So I use barely any product here, and I really utilize that spoolie. I also will sometimes use a pomade and then a powder in the beginning of my brow, because I find that that technique, it's foolproof as well. You can always go in with a palette and find a brown that you like. So this is actually the James Charles and Morphe palette, and I would probably go in with this cool tone brown up here to do like the beginning of my brow if I had to pick a shade, because I like my brows to not be so warm, because my brow hairs are actually very they're black almost, or they're completely black pretty much. So I like to use lighter products, like lighter browns, ashy browns. I find that they like really complement the black, and it makes everything look really good when you're kind of looking from it far away. And I know this brow, even now, it kind of looks intense, but once I have my makeup on, my lashes, everything, it looks really good. So this is how I do my brows. I think that, you know, I'm doing this video just to share whatever tips I do have when it comes to brows, but the reality is that brows are such a personal endeavor, really. So, and like everybody I feel like goes through phases with their brows too. So like right now I'm on this pomade kick. I like to go for a really soft brow in the beginning of my brows, because that's really the only area that I have like the room to make my brow, like real brow hair, show through. And then what I like to do to really clean up the bottom of my brows is go in with concealer. I personally am most careful around the tops of my brows, because in that area I like don't clean up the top of my brows. I find that it looks too harsh to clean up both the top and the bottom, so I only do the bottom. Okay, so then what I like to do is take a little brush. This is not the brush I normally use. I actually left mine at home. I use the Ulta Beauty flat concealer brush. I'll insert a photo of it here. But since I'm not home, basically all you need is a tiny little flat brush. You see how thin that is? That's really what you're going to want to look for. And I'm just taking some concealer. I'm going to use Tarte Shape Tape because it's what I have with me, but all you need is a concealer that is not too dewy. I like something that's like a nice kind of thick but yet creamy consistency that's malleable enough. Sometimes I'll use like the top of the concealer that is a little bit drier. And again, I'm using the least amount of product towards the inner part of my, or the beginning of my brow, because really what I like to do is make sure that that area looks as like blended in and like seamless as possible. I also like to take this little brush. This one is like a brush I do use all the time. This is the Deluxe Crease Brush, Real Techniques, and I like to use it to kind of disperse the product. I also really like to use a really full coverage concealer for this, because I find that when I do use a full coverage concealer, it makes it really easy for me to disguise any little brow hairs that I might not have gotten. Also, I have very thick brow hair, so even if I get them and they're like under the skin, you can still see them sometimes, and that's super frustrating. Also, this gives me the illusion that I have an even more extended brow tail because I was able to drag that concealer further down. And really part of what I'm looking for, like in a brow shape, is an extended brow, because my brows aren't very like they're not as long as I want them to be, and I find that making the illusion that I have a longer brow makes my eye look bigger and gives me more room to work with when it comes to eyeshadows. Also, especially when you're starting, it's actually really good to have like a table setting to do your brows or eyeliner or anything like that like it needs a steady hand, because then your elbow has somewhere to rest and you have a lot more ability to keep your hand steady. And last but not least, one of my favorite tips to give for literally anything is that practice does make perfect, or at least close to it. So one thing that I have to say as somebody that is self-taught is that practice is everything. And like when I was first starting out learning how to do makeup, I would sit in my room and I would put on a full face of makeup at night where I knew there was no pressure, and I would just practice. And that is really, and I did this when I was in high school, so like I had a little bit more time on my hands than, let's say, somebody who's like working a 9 to 5 and has kids and everything. But if this is something you're passionate about, if you want to learn how to beat a face, do it. Like, make the time, like 30 minutes. Okay, today I'm going to practice eyebrows. Today I'm going to practice bronzer. Today I'm going to practice whatever. Like, if you're super passionate about something, find the 30 minutes in the day to like really master something and take the time to learn how to do it. So we have brows on. I'm gonna go ahead and film a different video and do the rest of my face, and if you want to see whatever makeup look I create, I will link that down below. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. The last little thing that I have to say is just set your brows with brow gel. I personally like a tinted brow gel. When I'm finished, this is the Essence Make Me Brow. This is a super affordable option. It is such a dupe for the Benefit brow something. Make Me Brow, Brownie Brows, something like that. So mine is in the shade, no, sorry, this is in the shade Brownie Brows. But yeah, it's a dupe for like a high-end product. It doesn't have as much pigment as the high-end one, I believe. Or I don't think it has as good of a shade range as the high-end one, but it does a good job, and I think it's only like $3 or $4 at the drugstore. So I find this on, or I find mine at Ulta, and it's just a really good product. Also, like Maybelline has things like this, a tinted brow gel you need. So, alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys.